بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. أما بعد، يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. ثم أما بعد، يا عباد الله، we continue going over the tremendous book by the Fadilat Shaykh Al-Allama Shaykh Salih Al-Fawzan Hafidhahullah Ta'ala. That book, which is entitled Aqeedatut Tawheed. We are still on the chapter, which is a very important chapter, and it is the chapter of the aqwal wa af'al tunafi at-tawheed aw tunqisu, of those statements and those actions that will negate a person's tawheed. And the Tawheed, we know this is the true Islamic monotheism. That Tawheed that human beings have been created for, that they may actualize it and worship Allah and Allah alone. So we're talking about statements and actions that will have an ill effect upon a person's Islam. Some of these statements and actions, they will negate a person's Islam and remove him from the realm of Islam. And others from amongst them, then they will decrease it to whatever extent that they are brought. It is incumbent that we remember the likes of this when we're going over these chapters, and in particular the chapter we're going to, or the portion of the chapter that we're going to do tonight. Because a lot of times people, they may not make the connection between what we're going to speak about tonight and that it can have an ill effect upon their faith. It can have an ill effect upon their Islam. And it is important that we study the likes of these chapters and the likes of these topics, so that we know what not to do. As the poet, he says in his famous lines of poetry, علمت الشر لا للشر لكن لتوقيه لأن من لا يعرف الخير من الشر يقع فيه. He said that I learned evil not for the sake of learning evil, but rather in order to stay away from it. Because the one who doesn't know the difference between good and evil, then he will fall into it, meaning he will fall into evil. If a person, he doesn't know those things, for example, if a person is not able to distinguish between those berries that are edible and those berries that are poisonous, now he's not able to tell the difference. All of them are a shade of red, right? They look very similar. They're similar in the shape, and so on and so forth. But the difference between them is one that it requires knowledge to be able to identify and distinguish what exactly is that difference between this type of berry and that type of berry. An individual, it will be impossible for him to stay away from and avoid those berries that are poisonous to him, except that he has to have knowledge of how those berries look. What smell do those berries have? What type of foliage grows around those berries? And so on and so forth. Now, and only by way of that knowledge of knowing what those berries are, will he be able to stay away from those berries. Without that knowledge, if he went to eat the berries, then he will eat, of course, what? Good berries. And he will eat other berries that will cause him stomach problems. He will eat other berries that may cause his death, because he can't distinguish between this berry from that berry. Now, ala kulli hal, if we don't understand or know with depth and detail what are some very evil affairs and why they're evil, how evil they are, the extent of their evil, and so on and so forth, it will be impossible for us to stay away from it. It may be something that we deem as being just what people do, but rather, in fact, is not something that people do, but it is evil within itself. Now, and this will become more clear when we look at the topic of the last portion of this particular section, because remember we took the first half of this section in last week's class, and that was hukm intima' al-madhahib al-hadiyya, and that was the ruling on joining heretical parties and heretical groups. Now, and the Shaykh, he brought some examples of this and what is intended by it, like for example communism, which is built upon atheism. You know, it's not permissible for a Muslim to join the Communist Party and to say, okay, I'm a communist, because in reality, when you look at the essence of the philosophy, how can it be possible that a Muslim can join an atheistic party? That he can have an atheistic belief. It's like a person saying, I'm a believing atheist, or I'm an atheist who believes. And it's not possible. These are two contradictory things that can never be brought together. Now, and so on and so forth. The Shaykh, he brought some more examples from these political groups and the like, but all of it exists, the same. It's not meant to be restricted. For example, like the Masons, it's not permissible for a Muslim to be a Mason, because the belief of the Masons, or the core of their creed, is disbelief. So how would it be possible that a Muslim in one breath has belief in his heart from the deen of al-Islam, the religion of al-Islam, and then from the other part he has in his heart the disbelief from the Mason way? The two, they can't go together. The two, they can't go together. Now, that was that part. And then now we come to the second part of this chapter, and that is al-intima' li ahzab al-jahiliyyah, joining the groups from pre-Islamic times. And the Fadilatul Shaykh, he mentions what is meant by pre-Islamic times, or what is meant by joining the groups of pre-Islamic times. What kind of groups are this? Naam, the Shaykh, he says, al-qawmiyat al-unsariyya. He said it means the joining of racist, nationalist groups. Now, the joining of a racist, nationalist group. Because racism, we know that racism is an un-Islamic concept. Racism is a concept that stems back to when? To the times of Jahiliyyah. And Jahiliyyah is what? Is the time of the pre-Islamic ignorance. This is what is meant by Jahiliyyah. Now, that time frame before Islam. And as a side point, as the Imam as the Shaykh, what Imam, he mentioned elsewhere, is that what? Is that when it comes to the term of Jahiliyyah, then it is used unrestrictedly upon the time prior to the sinning of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, unrestrictedly, it refers to the time prior to the sinning of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a prophet. This is the time of Jahiliyyah. Now, and then he said you will have isolated incidents or circumstances and those situations that an individual will have Jahiliyyah, meaning before a person accepts Islam, for example, that he can refer to that time frame before he became Muslim as Jahiliyyah. This was his or her Jahiliyyah. But a whole time frame or era can never be referred to as Jahiliyyah, because Jahiliyyah as a time frame or era, it came to an end with the sinning of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But from an individual standpoint, individual basis, a person can say, yes, in my days of Jahiliyyah, meaning what? Before I became Muslim, in my days of Jahiliyyah. And when we look at it from the standpoint, we realize that now we may know that what? In Jahiliyyah, there may have been individuals who were associated with nationalistic parties or parties that were built on racism. Now, parties that were built on racism. And this is what they did in Jahiliyyah. There are individuals who, in Jahiliyyah, before they were Muslim, they themselves used to be racist. Whether that be that they were white and didn't like black, or they were black and didn't like white, or they were Hispanic and they didn't like black, or they were black and like Hispanic, or whatever the case may be. Now, racism is racism, bigotry is bigotry. But in individuals who, prior to Islam, they were racist. They were racist. Now, and the reality of it is that what? Is that in only the deen of Al-Islam is the cure for racism. Because Islam, it doesn't tolerate any type of racism in any which way, shape or form. Nor does it tolerate nationalism, nor any type of tribalism, and so on and so on. And inshallah ta'ala, we're going to see more in depth and detail. Ala kullin, Al-Allama Al-Fawzan, hafidhullah ta'ala, he says, Al-Qawmiyat Al-Unsariyah, racist and nationalistic groups. The Shaykh, he mentions, هو الآخر كفر ورد عن دين الإسلام, that this type of racism and nationalism, right, and being moved for nationalism and racism and so on and so forth, the Shaykh, he says this is in actuality can consist of apostasy from the religion of Islam. This is very important, because maybe a lot of people didn't understand it like this. They may just say, oh, they are racist. And that's it. They leave it like that, not realizing how detrimental this is, because, as we'll come to see inshallah ta'ala, when the individual has put all of the emphasis upon race, or upon national origin, or upon skin color, or upon whatever features that people that they cling to, these individuals who are racist and so on and so forth, you will find that their measuring stick is not the measuring stick of which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded them with. This is not because what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Qur'an, he says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الْإِخْوَةِ إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةِ, verily the believers are brothers. Now, that's it. The believers are brothers. Whether that believer is from Singapore, or that believer he's from Alaska, or that believer he's from Canada, or he's from America, or he's from Africa, or he's from wherever. He's a believer, he's a Muslim. His skin could be brown, it could be white, it could be black, it could be yellow, it could be reddish, it could be whatever shade the skin may be. Hair texture could be whatever texture the hair may be. They're a believer, they're brothers. That's our frame of reference, the iman, the faith. That's what brings us together as brothers. None of the other stuff. None of the, what kind of food you eat, what kind of food you don't eat, what land you come from, what's your original language, what's your mother tongue. That has nothing to do with nothing. Has nothing to do with nothing. As relates to what? As relates to our wala wal bara. As relates to our loyalty and disloyalty, the tone of your skin, the texture of your hair, the language you speak, has nothing to do with nothing. None of that is a factor in whether or not we're going to show you loyalty or disloyalty. But rather, what is the factor, and whether we show you loyalty or disloyalty? Do you believe? If you believe and you are a Muslim, we show you loyalty, because you are our brother, you are our sister, with a bond that's stronger than a blood bond, stronger than the blood bond. Because you can have individuals who are from your families, who are from the kuffar. Naam. They share DNA with you, DNA pool, right? But they from the kuffar, have a hatred for the deen of al-Islam, war and fight against the Muslims. Then you can have an individual who you met in the moment right now, but they are Muslim, they're upon Iman. You will have love for that Muslim. Why? Is the love based upon a personal connection you may have with an individual? Right? Of course the answer is no. The love that you have for the individual is based upon what? It's based on your love for Allah. You love that person for Allah. You love that person, why? Because he's obedient to Allah. He believes the way that Allah has commanded him to believe. He believes in Allah's messengers as he has been commanded to believe. He follows the messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and so on and so forth. These are the reasons why you love a person. So our love is very much conditional. It's very much conditional. The love we have for one another has to be conditional, has to be upon the conditions of a person's adherence to the deen of al-Islam. Whether or not a person's level of righteousness and so on and so forth. The more righteous, the more they adhere to the Islamic religion, then the more love we have for that person. And this is talking about a love that's a religious based love. Now, we're not talking about the natural love. I don't want anyone to misunderstand what we're saying. We're not speaking about the natural love, because naturally an individual, he will love his mother, he will love his father, he will love his children, he will love his brothers and his sisters and his cousins and his nieces and his nephews and so on and so on. People in his family, naturally you have love for them because they're in your family, right? But we can never allow this love to trump the love that we're supposed to have for one another based upon religion. That makes sense? We can never allow that love to ill affect the way in which we should treat them. So another example, we can never say, but I love my grandmother so much, and I love her, she did this, she did that, it's my grandmother, I love her, so therefore she asked me to take her to church, I'm going to take her to church because I love her. Love, that's the point where the love has now transgressed the bounds. We love her as a grandmother, as a grandfather, we love them. But if they command us to do kufr, they command us to do evil, they want us to be a party to them in doing evil, then that's where the line is drawn. Yes, we love you naturally, but we don't love you that much that we're going to help you disobey Allah, or that we're going to help you make polytheism with Allah. We don't love you that much that we're going to aid you and be accessory to you worshiping other than Allah Azza wa Jalla. No, we don't love you that much. That's where the line is drawn. You understand? And then if it's ever a situation now where we have individuals who are close kin and family members who are warring and fighting against al-Islam, we can't say, well, I can't have hatred for him because after all he is still my uncle. No. If this is the stance that they have taken and so on and so forth, then we have hatred for them. Why? Because we're hating them for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And this has to be the greatest motivating factor in the life of a Muslim, is that they strive to please Allah Azza wa Jalla. So all of their relationships have to be molded upon that concept of fearing Allah Azza wa Jalla. This is something that is of tremendous importance and will rectify the whole of an individual's life in this world and in the next. Ala kulli hal, the Shaykh Hamidullah Ta'ala, he says that this is ridda an din al-Islam. This is apostasy from the religion of Islam. لأن الإسلام يرفض العصبيات, because Islam rejects racism. Islam rejects racism. وَالنُّعَرَاتِ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ, and Islam rejects the schisms of Jahiliyyah, the schisms of ignorance of the pre-Islamic times. يقول الله عز وجل, Allah Azza wa Jal, and this is very important. Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُم مِّن ذَكَرٍ وَأُنثَى وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. Allah Ta'ala says what translate it means. O humanity, O mankind, O human beings, verily we have created you from a man and from a woman. From a man, meaning our father Adam, alayhi salatu wassalam. From a woman, our mother Hawa, alayhi salatu wassalam. And we made you into tribes and people, different tribes, different people, races, so on and so forth. What? لِتَعَارَفُوا, so that you may know one another. Naam. All of these tribes, all these people, their origin is from where? It's from our father Adam and our mother Hawa. They all have the same origin, all have the same parents. Naam. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made us from different tribes, different people, different colors, different speak different languages, have different features, and so on and so forth. For what? لِتَعَارَفُوا, so we can get to know one another, so we can learn, benefit from other cultures, other ways, so on and so forth, to the end of it. Naam. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions, He says, إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ, that the most noble of you with Allah is the one who has the most fear, is the one who is the most pious, is the one who is the best and most believing servant. That's how an individual will gain nobility and so on and so forth. Nobility is not gained by something that you can't be credited for. Huh? Nobility is not gained by something in which you can't be credited for. Right? For example, a person can't put his chest out now and say, yes, I should be like this and like that because I was born in such and such a place. Okay. Did you choose to be born in that place? Did you have anything to do with that decision or making that happen? No, you had nothing to do with that. Person saying, well, I'm of this gender, so therefore I should, okay, based on what? Person says, oh, but I'm of this complexion and so on and so forth. Okay, did you choose that complexion? Huh? So why would we give you, for lack of a better term, why would we give you props for something you ain't do? You understand? That's like a person claiming to get a paycheck for something he didn't do. You owe me a check. What do you mean? You don't even work here. How you get a check? You owe me a check. But you don't even work here. Who are you? Yeah. And this is the reality. You're not going to gain a level for something in which you had nothing to do with. The land that you came from, the parents that you came from, the language of your parents, the location of your tribe, the color of your skin, the texture of your hair, the color of your eyes, the thickness of your lips, the highness or lack thereof of your cheekbones, so on and so forth. You had nothing to do with none of that. So none of that is going to work for or against you. None of that works for or against you. That which will work for or against you would be what? Your level of piety. Your level of piety. Now, an individual being pious, that's something he has to put forth an effort into doing. So therefore, the most beloved or the most noble in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what? Is the one who has the most piety. So this is clear. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains to us why there are differences in our races and differences in our peoples and our tribes and so on and so forth. So we shouldn't take it outside of its context. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned, he said, لَيْسَ مِنَّا مَنْ دَعَى إِلَى الْعَصَبِيَّةِ. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, he's not from us the one who calls to tribalism. The person who calls to tribalism, he's not from us. نعم وليس منا من قاتل على عصبية, and he's not from us the one who fights for tribalism. وليس منا من غضب لعصبية, and he's not from us the one who he gets angry due to عصبية. Person has to check. I'm telling you, we have to check ourselves. We can never be filled to be safe or complacent into thinking that, oh, I can never do this, not me. Really? If you find yourself calling the people to some type of fanaticism and racism and so on and so forth, the Prophet ﷺ is telling you, Laysa minna, he's not from us. If you find that you an individual, he will fight and struggle for based on race, the Prophet ﷺ is saying he's not from us. A person, because a person may say, well, I will never do anything from the first two. He may have escaped the first two, or she may have escaped the first two. But can an individual really say they have escaped the third? Person get mad due to asabiyya. Black people get mad, all of a sudden you mad. Why you mad for? Huh? White people mad, now you mad. Why you mad for? For what? Spanish people mad, now you mad for what? Indian people are mad, now you mad for what? Why? Because your peoples is mad, so now you mad? You have to be very careful. Have to be very careful. And it's important that we understand that that we don't return injustice with injustice. We don't return a wrong with a wrong. You understand? A particular race treats you in a bad, bigoted manner. So now does that give you justification to treat members of that race in that same manner? No. Never. We don't return an evil with that which is evil. You don't fix evil with that which is evil. You understand? You don't clean dirt with dirt. Right? Meaning filth. You don't clean filth with filth. The wall is filthy, so then you bring more filth to put on top of the filth to clean off the filth. I mean, what sense does this make? Doesn't make any sense. So we don't respond to bigotry with bigotry. We don't say, oh, you didn't let us come, so now you can't come. You didn't let us in, so now you can't get in. You made us sit here, now you sit there. La. We have to be just and equitable, and we have to establish justice, even with those who act in ways in which are unbefitting. It doesn't give us the right to return that. Ala kulli hal, the Prophet ﷺ, in the aforementioned hadith, it could be found in the Tirmidhi and other places. Another hadith that can be found in Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Inna Allah qad adhaba ankum ubiyyat al-jahiliyyah." That Allah Ta'ala, verily He has removed from you the zeal of jahiliyyah. And this is the haqq. I know individuals who, I know personally individuals who used to be racist before Islam. Racist. I couldn't tell them nothing. They were staunch racists. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided them, guided their hearts. Now you find, for lack of a better term, the person who got a racist bone in his body. And this is a ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet said, verily Allah has removed from you the zeal of jahiliyyah. وَفَخْرَهَا بِالْآبَاءِ, and has removed the boasting of lineage. Because in pre-Islamic times, the people used to boast about lineage. I'm from this tribe, these are my forefathers, and they used to do this, and they were like that, and they were, such great people, and I came from them, so therefore, see again, it goes back to what? You don't get props for things you didn't do. Your forefathers, they had achieved, superiority or something like this. Wait, what's it got to do with you? Na'am. It's a reality. They achieved that. What does it have to do with you? SubhanAllah. Na'am. Ala kulli hal, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, وَإِنَّمَا هُوَ مُؤْمِن تَقِيٌّ أَوْ فَاجِرٌ شَقِيٌّ. He said, verily people, and this is at the end of the day, this is the only real distinction. At the end of the day, this is the only real distinction between people. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, he's either going to be a believer who fears Allah, who has piety, or he will be a miserable sinning criminal. That's the only options at the end of the day. It's either going to be an individual who is a believer and he has fear of Allah Azza wa Jal, or it will be an individual who is a miserable sinner. Na'am. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, "An-nas banu Adam," that the human beings, we are the children of Adam. All of us, we're the children of Adam. Whether you're from America, from Canada, Africa, Asia, wherever, you are a child of Adam. وَآدَمْ خُلِقَ مِنْ تُرَابٍ, and Adam was created from dirt. وَلَا فَضْلُ. Before we go on to this point, some of the ulama, they mentioned a very important point. They said that the stupidity of racism can be summed up because our father Adam, alayhi salatu salam, he was created from dirt. So our origin is from the dirt. Right? He said the stupidity of racism is a person coming and saying to you, the portion of dirt that we came from is better than the portion of dirt that you came from. He said that sums up the stupidity of racism. It's like an individual saying, well, my dirt was better than your dirt. It's the same dirt. You understand how racism makes no sense? but we're better than you all. We came from the same origin. We all came from our father Adam and our mother Hawa. So what do you mean? And our father Adam, he was created from dirt. So what are you talking about? So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, لا فضل للعرب على عجمي. He said there is no superiority for an Arab over a non-Arab. Here's a very important point. You have people, they have sometimes inferiority complex, and others have a superiority complex based upon the Arabic language. They say, oh, but we speak Arabic language. Speaking Arabic language is not going to be the deciding factor if you go to heaven or hell? No. Give me an example. Abu Jahl, he was from the most eloquent of the Arab. Right? He was the most eloquent of the Arabs. Huh? And he was Arab. And then we have Bilal or Suhaib al-Rumi. Bilal, he was from Habasha, which is Ethiopia, modern day Ethiopia, that region. Suhaib al-Rumi, he was from Rome. He was from Rome. And Rome is Rome. Right? Both of those are what? Non-Arab. But if you ask anybody who has a mind, who was better, Abu Jahl or Bilal? Who was better, Abu Jahl or Suhaib al-Rumi? They're going to say Bilal was better than Abu Jahl, and Suhaib al-Rumi was better than Abu Jahl. Why? Because Abu Jahl, he was a polytheist, enemy of Islam. He was a disbeliever. But Bilal, he was a companion of the Messenger of Allah, one of the first to believe in Allah's Messenger. He was the mu'adhin. He used to call the adhan. He was from the Sahaba. And the Sahaba, as the Prophet ﷺ told us, خَيْرُ النَّاسِ قَرْنِي ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُم ثُمَّ الَّذِينَ يَلُونَهُم. The best of mankind in my generation. And those who follow them, So the Sahaba, هُم خَيْرُ النَّاسِ بَعْدَ الْأَنْبِيَاءِ وَالرُّسُلِ. The Sahaba, they're the best of the people after, of course, the prophets and the messengers. Suhaib al-Rumi, who's better, Abu Jahl or Suhaib al-Rumi? Suhaib al-Rumi, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, because he was a noble Sahaba. Even though he was from Rome, he's not an Arab. He's better than Abu Jahl, and Abu Jahl was an Arab. You understand? So there's no superiority for an Arab over a non-Arab. And on the flip side, there's no superiority for a non-Arab over an Arab. Nowadays you may find people, they feel they have some kind of superiority complex because they come from this particular country. So they may even, and Allah musta'an, you find them even puffing their chests and walking in lands of the Muslims with this type of superiority because they say, oh, I'm from America and I'm Ricky. People say that. I got the blue passport. You think he's better? I'm telling you, people, they think they better. Why? Because you are not Arab, you think you got some superiority over the Arab? What are you talking about? For what? What makes you better? Because you was born in New Jersey? You was born in Wisconsin? Does that make you better? There's somebody born in Mogadishu or somebody born in Mecca? Subhanallah, what are you talking about? What sense does this make? But you have people who, they flip it now. They say, oh yeah, we got they may be from one of the strongest countries in the world and so on and so forth, and they think that gives them some kind of superiority. But this is what? This nationalism, this is not correct. This is not from the deen of Islam. This don't make you better. What makes you better? The Prophet ﷺ, he said, لا فضل لعربي على عجمي إلا بالتقوى. There is no superiority for an Arab over a non-Arab except with taqwa. So in what scenario would an Arab be better than a non-Arab? If that Arab is a believer and a non-Arab is not a believer, then the believer is better. If that Arab has more faith than that non-Arab who's also a believer, but he doesn't have the same level of strength of faith, then the Arab is better. But what if it's another scenario, you bring another Ajami and you bring another non-Arab there who has more faith than the first Arab that we mentioned? Then what? Then in that case, what? Then the non-Arab is better than the Arab. And we keep going on and on and on and on. Because what makes you better is what? Is your piety, your fear of Allah Azza wa Jal, your religiousness unto Allah Azza wa Jal. That's what makes individuals better. That's it. All of this other stuff, all of this other divisiveness and so on and so forth, these things that are meant to polarize us and so on and so forth, as the Shaykh he mentions, وَهَذِهِ الْحِزْبِيَّاتِ تُفَرِّقُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. And these partisan ways, this partisanship, it separates and it divides and makes disunity amongst the Muslims. Wallah, قَدْ أَمَرَ بِإِجْتِمَاعٍ. And Allah Ta'ala, He has commanded us to unite and be united. وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى. And to unite upon cooperation, to unite and cooperate upon righteousness and upon piety. وَنَهَى عَنَ التَّفَرُّقِ. And Allah Ta'ala, Allah has prohibited from separation. وَاخْتِلَافِ. He has prohibited from disunity and from differing. What does Allah Ta'ala says? Allah Ta'ala He says, وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ إِذْ كُنْتُمْ أَعْدَاءً فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ فَأَصْبَحْتُمْ بِنِعْمَتِهِ إِخْوَانًا. Allah Ta'ala says what means? And hold on all of you together to the rope of Allah, and do not separate, do not divide, do not have disunity. Be one, be together. وَاذْكُرُوا. And remember Allah's favor upon you when you used to be enemies. إِذْ كُنْتُمْ أَعْدَاءً. When you used to be enemies. Naam. This was the haqq. In Jahiliyyah, we used to be enemies one to another, some of us. Whether that been from the standpoint of race, whether that been from the standpoint of partisanship, whether that been from the standpoint of streets. This one was from this gang, that one was from that gang, and so on and so forth. Now, real life story, there were two students, I won't mention their names as to not to embarrass them, but there were two students of knowledge who studied with me in Egypt. And they used to sit together and they would laugh about the fact that before Islam, one of them was a blood and the other was a crip before Islam. And they used to laugh about this, and subhanAllah, look how Allah Ta'ala has brought our hearts together, and they were from the closest of companions one to another, had very much love between them, and so on and so forth. But and then they say, alhamdulillah for the bounty of the deen of al-Islam. He said, and Allah knows best, but had we met before Islam, we may have tried to kill each other. Why? Because this one was a blood, that was a crip. Right? So as Allah Ta'ala, He mentions that we used to be enemies. Kuntum a'da fa'allafa bayna qulubikum. And Allah Ta'ala, He said, you used to be enemies and I brought your hearts together. And your hearts, brought your hearts together. فَأَصْبَحْتُمْ بِنِعْمَتِهِ إِخْوَانًا. And you became brothers by His bounty. By the bounty of Allah Azza wa Jalla, you became brothers. Now, it's the haqq. Some people maybe, in Jahiliyyah, you wouldn't even look in the direction of a person who is your very most close companion right now, after Islam. It's the haqq. Allah brought us together as brothers. This is a ni'mah. We can never forget the likes of this ni'mah and then want to throw it away for some idiotic racism or nationalism or tribalism or colorism or whatever the case is. Shaykh Fawzan, he says, Inna Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yuridu minna an nakuna ma'a hizbin wahid. He said Allah wants us to be with one group. Allah wants us to be with one group. وَهُمْ حِزْبُ اللَّهِ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. And that one group, it is the hizb of Allah, the group of Allah, those who are successful. The true Hizbullah. When you talk about them Shi'i Rafidi, one who call themselves Hizbullah, because they're not really Hizbullah. The ones you may hear about on the news, and they call it Hizbullah, or they call it Hizbullah. That's how they pronounce it in the West, Hizbullah or whatever. Them one, in reality, they are the Hizb al-Shaytan. هؤلاء Hizb al-Shaytan. They're not Hizbullah, they're Hizb al-Shaytan. The Rafidi Shi'i, Hizb al-Shaytan. Talking about the real Hizb of Allah, the believers, the believing Muslims. This is who Allah Ta'ala has commanded us to be grouped with. And that group of believers, what is the credentials to be from that group? Is that what? You're a believer. You believe correctly in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're a believer, you're a Muslim. As far as race, as far as gender, as far as color, as far as national origin, and so on and so forth, none of this has nothing to do with nothing. What gained you ownership? Oh, I don't know if that's a word, but you know, what not right. What gains you access? What gains you access, right, to this group is that what? Is that you are a believer? Is that you are a Muslim? The Shaykh, he says, وَلَكِنَ عَالَمِ الْإِسْلَامِ. The Shaykh, he says, but the Islamic world, meaning much of the Islamic world, أصبح بعدما غزته أوروبا سياسيا وثقافيا يخضع لهذه العصبيات الدموية. He says, but unfortunately, the Muslim world after the after the ideological war. Now, this is what we understand. After they were warred against by the Europe and the ideological war, as we know, the ideological war that comes along with colonialism, because you know that's part of the way of the kuffar, divide and conquer, right? If you get the population to be at odds with one another, they can never come together against you, so on and so forth. There's some of the ways of shaitan. In any event, after this, lack of a better term, brainwashing and indoctrination and so on and so forth that has come from Europa, politically and culturally, you find that many of the people, they have submitted to the caste system. The caste system, that is, the caste system and the way that they are set up in India, that you have individuals who are from a certain class of people, and you can only marry in your class. You can never go above your class. Your class is only meant to reach a certain level of society, and so on and so forth. So basically, if you're born in a lower caste, that's it. You have no hope for going up. If you're born in a high caste system, then that's it. You always going to be at the top and cream of the crop, and so on and so forth. Whether you are deserving or not, whether you are the most miserable and disgusting and nasty people or not, so on and so forth, all based on the caste system. This is a kafir concept. Now, but you have people who, unfortunately, from the Muslims, who they fall into this. Oh, you from this tribe or this subsection of this tribe, so you have to marry within your tribe. You can't marry me because I'm from another tribe, or it could be the same tribe, but from a subsection of that same tribe. And just knowing that our two subsections, we don't marry with each other. You only got to marry from the same subsection, and so on and so forth. People say, well, I would like to this and that, but can't because you're not from it. Yeah, what do you mean? Huh? It's racism. You have people who they get confused and they fool and lie unto themselves, and they, like, for give an example, as exists amongst many of the Arab, they say, no, you have to marry the Arab. Right? They say the Arab, you come and you say, no, you're a nice brother, mashallah, but you from America, you're from Kenya, you can't marry because you're not Arab. Wait. And they marry him to an Arab who don't speak Arabic. So then you say to yourself, what's your real motivation? Right? But the same people who say, no, we just want to marry Arab. Somebody else come, they got the complexion for the connection, they say, okay, you can marry them, no exception. So then what's it really about? It can't be Arabic. Somebody come, he don't got the complexion for the connection, but he speak Arabic. They say, but he speaks Arabic. Until he speaks Arabic better than you. Marry them. No, sorry, brother. We gotta be Arab. Malish preference. Is it preference or is it racism? Is it preference or is it nationalism? Yeah? Allah musta'an. But the shaitan, play a game with people like this, and they think that this becomes like normal, and it's Allah musta'an. This is not the Islamic way. Bilal, when we mentioned Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was from the Quraysh. Excuse me. He was from the Habasha. He was from Ethiopia. Naam. He married 2 women from the Quraysh. And the Quraysh, they were at the cream of the crop when it comes to the Arabs. They were the head of the Arab, the most noble of the Arabic tribe. You didn't find no Sahabiyat. You didn't find those women saying, no, we're not going to marry Bilal because he's not an Arab by lineage. He was an Arab by tongue, because you could be an Arab by tongue, right, and an Arab by lineage, and an Arab by both. They say, they say, we're not going to marry him because he's not an Arab by lineage. We're not going to marry him because he's black. He's from Africa. No, 2 women from the Quraysh. Bilal, he married from the Quraysh. This is the way. على كل حال والجنسية والوطنية, and people who they had placed it, and they just think of jinsiyya والوطنية. This is a kafir concept. People claiming that I have this nationality. My nationality, I'm this or I'm that. So I'm sticking to people who my same nationality, same nation of origin, and so on. And you find this, subhanAllah, you find this. I'm telling you, find this. You start traveling overseas, you find a person, and from the kuffar, you find the Muslims is different. The Muslims, we look for other Muslims, but you find a kafir meet you in the airport, anywhere, right? They from America, they see you American, they want to cling to you, come to you. Oh, you American? Hey, how you doing, man? I ain't know which other Americans over here. This is that. Now they want to draw near to you. What? Because he got this concept of nationalism in his head, meaning that you and him both share the same nationality. Naam. Wal-Wataniyya, you're from the same place, you're from the same land, and so on and so forth. All of these concepts are concepts that have no bearing upon the Muslim. You're from the same land, okay, so you understand? Exactly. This person could be from there, but say, where do you find the clubs, and where do you find beer, and where do you find it? I don't know. Get away from me. I don't want talk to me. Don't sit here. You wasting my time. You understand what I'm saying? Allah musta'an. وَيُؤْمِنُ بِهَا. Allah musta'an. The Shaykh, he says, and unfortunately some of the people, and this is very important to understand, very important, especially for people who accept Islam. Whether you accept Islam from a little while ago, from a long time ago, because all of us accepted Islam in here, right? Except for y'all young guys born and raised in Islam, alhamdulillah, right? But except for them, we all accepted Islam. So it's important for us to understand that is that the Muslims don't always do what they should do. So don't become discouraged or disheartened and so on and so forth if you see the Muslims not acting correctly. Because the Muslims are judged by Islam. Islam is not judged by the Muslims. Now, the haqq is not judged by the people, but the people are judged by the haqq, by the truth. Right? So you may find, and the Shaykh, he mentions, and this is the haqq, and you may encounter it, you may run into it. But you have to be patient, because ignorance is widespread in these times. So you have to be patient, you have to be gentle, you have to return the bad behavior and treatment with good behavior and good treatment. The Shaykh, he said, ويؤمن بها كالقضية العلمية الحقيقية المقررة والواقع لا مفر منه وأصبحت شعوبه تندفع اندفاعا غريبا إلى الإحياء هذه العصبيات التي أماتها الإسلام وتغني بها وإحياء شعائرها. نعم. وافتخار بعهدها الذي تقدم على الإسلام. The Shaykh, he says, and you find, unfortunately, many of the Muslims believe in this right now, and they have rushed to it, or many Muslims believe in it and they have taken to it like it is a knowledge-based actual thing. They hold on to this like it's based on some type of knowledge, some type of scientific research, like it's real. They hold on to these concepts as if they're real concepts. Now, and you find that the population of many of the Muslim countries, they rush to this with a very strange rushing. They rush to these concepts and to the adopting and adaptation of these concepts in a very strange manner. They rush to revive this type of racism and this type of nationalism and bigotry and so on and so forth that Islam killed, that Islam annihilated. They try to bring it back, they try to revive it. And they extol with it, and they try to revive its characteristics and revive its aspects that are particular to it. And they take pride in a time that came before Islam. And we're going to see, inshallah ta'ala, shortly, how taking pride in the pre-Islamic time, or taking pride in your old days of Jahiliyyah, is the most foolish things individual can do. It's an illustration of ungratefulness. The Shaykh, he says, this pre-Islamic time, huwa alladhi يلح الإسلام على تسميته بالجاهلية. That pre-Islamic time, or that period, or that era, that Islam, it urges us to call it what it is, and that is what? Jahiliyyah, the pre-Islamic times. وَقَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَى الْمُسْلِمِينَ بِالْخُرُوجِ عَنْهَا. And Allah has given the Muslims a bounty and blessed them by being removed from it. Yeah, once you understand this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He removed us from this racism and this bigotry and nationalism and so on and so forth. Allah ta'ala removed us from the pre-Islamic times and that which is associated with it from the racism and so on and so forth. Allah removed us from it. Na'am. وَحَثَّهُمْ عَلَى شُكْرِ هَذِهِ النِّعْمَةِ. And Allah ta'ala, He encourages us to be grateful for this bounty. Allah encourages us to be grateful for this bounty, to be grateful for the bounty that He removed us from the pre-Islamic times and everything that was connected to it, including racism and nationalism and so on and so forth. The Shaykh, he brings a very important and outstanding example. He says, وَالطُّبِيعِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِ أَنْ لَا يُذْكَرُ جَاهِلِيَّةً تقادم عهدها أو قارب. He said is that the believer, it should be natural from the believer that he doesn't mention the time of Jahiliyyah, whether that was a short period of time ago or a long period of time ago. Whether it was a long period of time ago or a short period of time ago, the Muslim shouldn't mention his days of Jahiliyyah إلا بمقت وكراهية وامتعاض وشعرار. Is that we should never mention the times of Jahiliyyah, pre-Islamic times, except that we should have hatred, we should have a disdain, we should have resentment and repulsion. Now we should have resentment and repulsion. You understand? The Shaykh, he brings a very outstanding example. He says, هل يذكر السجين المعذب الذي يطلق سراحه أيام الاعتقاله وتعذيبه وامتهانه إلا عرته قشعريرة. He says, a person who used to be in prison, and he was imprisoned and he was tortured while he was in prison. That a person who was previously in prison, he was incarcerated, he was tortured, he was put to trials and tribulations and so on and so forth. He does not mention the days of his incarceration, except that he cries and he what do you say? Like he shudders from the thought of what took place in that time of his imprisonment, when he was being punished and he was being tortured and he don't think back at that time with happiness. You don't say, oh yeah, back in the days when they was waterboarding me, some of the best days of my life. But unfortunately, you find individuals will look back nostalgistic at their Jahiliyyah, talking about, oh yeah, back in the good old days. What do you mean good old days in Jahiliyyah? How is that possible? The Shaykh, he mentioned another example. He says, وَهَلْ يَذْكُرُ الْبَرِيءُ مِنْ عِلَّةٍ شَدِيدَةٍ طَوِيلَةٍ أَشْرَفَ مِنْهَا عَلَى الْمَوْتِ أَيَّامِ السُّقْمِ إِلَّا وَانْكَشَفَ baluhu wanqata' lawnu. He says that a person, another example is that a person who used to be sick with a tremendous sickness, and he was sick for a long time. Now, so bad that he thought he was going to die. He does not think back and look at the days of his sickness, except that it breaks his mind. It breaks him down mentally, and that he loses his color. He becomes pale. A person that almost died, recovering from cancer. He don't look back at the days that he was in chemo saying, oh, the best days, the days I lost my hair, the days I was in chemo, the days I couldn't get out of bed, the days I was. He doesn't look back at those days as they was glory days. He looks back to those days and it breaks his heart. He may get sad. He become fearful that may come back to him. He looks back to that time and he loses his color. He grow pink. He get pale. She get pale. You understand? Because the reality is that what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has saved them from that which is tremendous. Now, if we talking about an individual who was in prison and he was tortured and he was in prison, one scenario. Another scenario, the person who he was sick with a sickness, he thought he was going to die and then he got better, and so on and so forth. But one looks at that and compares it to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved us from. There is no comparison, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَكُنْتُمْ عَلَى شَفَاء حُفْرَةٍ مِنَ النَّارِ فَأَنْقَذَكُمْ مِنْهَا. Allah ta'ala says what means, and you were on شَفَاء حُفْرَةٍ مِنَ النَّارِ. Allah Ta'ala says, and you was on the brink of going to the hellfire. You was on the brink of the fire, and I saved you from it. So how can a person in reality look back upon the days of Jahiliyyah, look back and want to throw off the Islamic characteristics now and hold on to the characteristics of the day of Jahiliyyah and be proudful and boastful of a time that he was on the brink of the hellfire? What sense does that make? Oh yeah, back in the good old days and we was about to go to hell, X, Y, and Z. What sense does this make? Remember how we used to think back when we was about to go to hell? Yeah, we should bring some of that back. What sense does this make? How ungrateful is this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved us from Jahiliyyah. Allah ta'ala saved us from being upon the brink of the hellfire. Allah ta'ala, He saved us from a time frame and a period in our life and being with the people who were racist, who were nationalists, who held on to qawmiyah and bigotry and so on and so forth. Allah ta'ala saved us from the pre-Islamic times and everything that is connected to it. So why in the world, as a Muslim, after Allah saved you from that, would you want to reach your hand back and grab some of that stuff with you still? This is stuff that the Muslim, if he finds an enemy, try to get it away from him. That's like when that man said to one of the companions, he said to him, you are the son of a black woman. The Prophet ﷺ told him what? He said, you still got traces of Jahiliyyah in you. You understand? He told him. But this was what? You see the Sahaba, they're not like us. The companions not like us. When one of the companions of the Prophet, he said to another companion of the Prophet, he told him, he said, you son of a black woman. The Prophet, he scolded him immediately. He said, you are an individual, you got traces of Jahiliyyah still inside you. That Sahabi, what did he say? He didn't come and he said, oh, well, I used to be like that for a long time, so... Oh, but that's how we do. No, he didn't come with any excuse. But what did he do? He immediately went to that companion and he apologized unto him, and he placed himself in a place of humility to him, humbling himself to him, showing him how regretful and sorry he was for calling him what he said. And he didn't say, you a son of a black woman. Now what about somebody who launches racial slurs at their brothers? You understand? Subhanallah. But you see, the way that the Muslim should be is that what? If he sees, because sometimes you may not recognize, you may not see that you still carrying around traces of pre-Islamic times. You may not understand, you may not see it. It might slip out. You didn't even realize it was there. But once you realize it's there, you have to do as this companion has done. Is that once you realize it's there, you get rid of it immediately. You shake that immediately. Immediately. There's no option away around that. And I want you to pay close attention to what the Shaykh is saying. He says, وَالْوَاجِبْ أَنْ يُعْلِمَ أَنَّ هَذِهِ الْحِزْبِيَاتِ عَذَابِ. He said, and يُعْلَمُ نعم and يُعْلَمَ نعم. The Shaykh, he says, and it is a must that we know that these parties, these groups that are broken up into parties and divisions based upon culture, based upon racism, national place of origin, skin color, whatever, that these are in reality punishment punishment. I want you to pay very close attention to this. This issue of racism and nationalism and these divisions in society that the kuffar is suffering from, and so on and so forth. Now those who are not following the teachings of what they suffer from, this is a punishment from Allah Azza wa Jal. بَعْثَ اللَّهَ عَلَى مَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ شَرْعِهِ وَتَنَكَّرَ لِدِينِهِ. That these are punishments that Allah sends upon those who turn away from His legislation, and He sends upon those who reject His religion. When a person rejects the deen of Islam, when a person rejects the legislation of Islam, Allah Ta'ala, He sends upon them punishment from this manner. As Allah Ta'ala, He says, and this is from one of the punishments when Allah Ta'ala sends upon them. كما قال الله تعالى قل هو القادر على أن يبعث عليكم عذابا من فوقكم أو من تحت أرجلكم أو يلبسكم شيعا ويذيق بعضكم بأس بعض. Allah Ta'ala says what means, and verily He is most capable for sending upon you a punishment from above your heads, or from under your feet, or from cloaking you in confusion, the confusion of partisanship. So therefore you start to taste the harm, each of you of the other. You understand? This is what happens with the people upon racism, is that what? Is that you find the black killing the white killing the black, and so on and so forth. Look at this country. Look at this country right now. They're the protests talking about Black Lives Matter, and so on and so forth. Now, but in return, right? Because a white person, he kills a black person, in return the black people go out and they say Black Lives Matter, and then they make protests, and they get out there and they start destroying property, and they start beating up and killing white people, and so on and so forth. Allah Ta'ala says what? يُذِيقَ بَعْضُكُمْ بَأْسَ بَعْضٍ. That you will taste the harm of each other. You will taste each other's wrath. You will fight against each other, kill each other, so on and so forth. This is what they get for what? For not being upon the guidance of Islam. Not being upon Islam. This is from the repercussions of not submitting to the legislation of Allah Azza wa Jal. For this is from the repercussions of rejecting the religion of Allah Azza wa Jal. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, ما لم تحكم أئمتهم بكتاب الله إلا جعل الله بأسهم بينهم. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that whoever their leaders do not rule by the book of Allah, then Allah will make enmity amongst them. Allah will make enmity to be amongst them. نعم. وأن التعصب للحزبيات يعني سبب يسبب رفض الحق. This is from another standpoint which shows us the repugnant nature of racism, bigotry, and so on and so forth. Is that being bigoted to certain parties and tribes, then what? It is a reason, rafdul haq. It is a reason to reject the truth. Alladhi ma'al akharin. It's a reason to reject the truth that are with others. Kal Yahud, like the Jews. Alladhina qala Allah ana. Alladhina qala Allah fihim. Those Jews whom Allah Ta'ala said about them. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ آمِنُوا بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهِ قَالُوا نُؤْمِنُ بِمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَى بِمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَيْنَا وَيَكْفُرُونَ بِمَا وَرَاءَهُ وَهُوَ الْحَقُّ مُصَدِّقًا لِمَا مَعَهُمْ. Allah Ta'ala says what means. And when it is said to the Jews, believe in that which Allah has sent down. آمِنُوا بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهِ. Believe in that which Allah has sent down. What do they say? قَالُوا نُؤْمِنُ بِمَا أُنزِلَ عَلَيْنَا. We believe in that which came down upon us. And then they disbelieve in that which is after it, even though it is the truth that confirms that which is with them. You understand? They don't want to believe. Why? Because it ain't come from the Jews. You see, the Jews, they moved to Yathrib because of the prophecies that were contained inside the previous scriptures, which mentioned the description of where the final prophet will be. Right? So the description, it met the description of Yathrib. it met the description of Medina, what later became Medina. So you find this is the reason why a lot of the Jews, they moved there. Why? Because they figured, okay, if we move there, then the final prophet will be from us. He'll be from us, right? But when the final prophet came from the Arab, their racism and their bigotry, it made them not accept the truth. So racism, you'll find, it make you not accept the truth. And wallahi, this is the haqq. There was an individual who was a college professor, right? And he said, college professor, black man, African American, right? And he's a teacher in the Afrocentric studies or whatever they call it. And he said to one of the Muslims, I believe that Muhammad is a prophet. I have no doubt. I believe Muhammad is a prophet, right? And I believe that Islam is true. He said, but I can never be a Muslim because Muslims had a hand in the slave trade. You understand? Subhanallah. His racism made him reject the truth. This is from the dangers of racism, that it'll make an individual reject the truth. Why? Because it didn't come from his people. Because he felt, practitioners of it did wrong to his people. When the reality is that the Muslims are judged by Islam. Islam is not judged by the Muslims. Muslims make mistakes. Muslims do stuff that's wrong. That's not a reflection on the deen of Islam. That's a reflection on them as individuals. So if they was part of the slave trade, then right. You know how parents tell children sometimes, or elders that tell young people sometimes who do foolish stuff. Okay, they did that, but what's that got to do with you? You understand? They chose to do something that was wrong. What it got to do with you? How's that going to prevent you from doing what you know is right? Just because they did something that's wrong? So now, because they did something wrong, you're not going to do what's right? Doesn't make any sense. It's totally disconnected. But this is to the extent that racism, it makes people stupid. Is that you'll reject the truth. Why? Based upon racism. Subhanallah. Allah musta'an. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. وكالحال الأهل الجاهلية, also the people of Jahiliyyah, the people of pre-Islamic times, الذين رفضوا الحق الذي جاءهم به الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم تعصبا لما عليه آباؤهم. Also the people of pre-Islamic times who rejected the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why? Because they were staunch to what their forefathers were upon. You find people who are staunch and bigoted and sticking to what their forefathers were upon, makes them reject the truth. How many of the people who had said, I know Islam is the truth, but the religion of my forefathers? Like the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, who died upon kufr. Why? He chose the religion of his forefathers, the religion of my forefathers. How many people you find they say, nah, what you're saying about Islam, it sounds like it's the truth, but my grandmother, my mother, they lived and they died and they were Christian, so I gotta die as a Christian. My family, they Jehovah's Witness, so I gotta die, I gotta be Jehovah's Witness. You understand? What they got to do with you? Yawm al-Qiyamah, they're going to realize that was the worst decision that they ever made. You understand? People going to hell. I don't want to go to hell. So if you did something, you choose to go to hell, that's what you did. I'm not going to follow you in that. That don't make no sense. Just like in this dunya, if a person, if he falls into a pit of nails and fire and tar, whatever, and lava, falls into a lava pit. You're walking into a lava pit. One must say, oh, well, you my kin, so I'm going to follow you into a lava pit. I'm not going to say, oh, well, you my family member, you from my race, you from my same place, you speak my same language, so if you walk in that direction, I'm just gonna go with you in that direction. No, you fall into a lava pit, anybody with a brain is gonna what? He gonna stop. They say, well, I ain't jumping in there because you was stupid enough to jump in there. You understand? Because if he was dumb enough and he didn't realize it, he didn't see it for what it was, but you have been blessed to see it for what it was, you'll be a fool to follow him into a lava pit. So how much more so now? How much more so is it from complete stupidity to follow a person and you know that they are upon a road, they're upon a way that's going to take them to hell forever, but you can still going to follow because it's your family? You understand? It doesn't make sense. But it led them to disbelieve because they want to hold on to what their forefathers was upon. As Allah Ta'ala says, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمُ اتَّبِعُوا مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ قَالُوا بَلْ نَتَّبِعُوا مَا أَلْفَيْنَا عَلَيْهِ آبَاءَنَا And when they said to them, follow that which Allah they said to them, follow that which Allah has sent down, they say, no, rather we're going to follow that which we found our forefathers upon. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. وَيُرِيدُ أَصْحَابُ هَذِهِ الْحِزْبِيَاتِ أَن يَجْعَلُوهَا. And this is what I want you to understand, so you can understand further too how this issue of racism, bigotry, so on and so forth, this partisanship. The Shaykh, he mentions, he says, and that the practitioners and the people who are apart from these parties, they want to make these things as badila an al-Islam. They want to make these things as an alternative and a replacement for Islam. It's the reality. They want to make it a replacement for Islam. You tell the people here, you say, I'm a Muslim upon Islam. Islam, it permeates all aspects of my life. They say, no, but it's okay, you could be democratic. Yeah, follow democratic values and ways. You say, but no, but Islam say we can't do that. No, but you be democratic. You put your religion in your house. Leave it in your house. That's between you and who you worship. You got to get down with this vote right now. You're part of the Democratic Party. You're a Republican, or you're a Democrat, or subhanAllah. Then you have Muslims who are advocates to this nonsense. Allah musta'an. I mean, we spoke previously about in the last week, or we spoke in the last week class about how these ways are kufr. Islam tells us we ought to be in such a way. They say no, it could be opposite. In Islam, is there even an issue of for example, gay marriage or not? Is that even an issue? Is that even up for debate? Allah Ta'ala has made it haram. The curse of Allah is upon the people who commit homosexuality. So is that even an option? Maybe it's okay? No, it's not okay. Could it be gay marriage? No, it's not debate. What about marijuana? Could marijuana be okay or not? No. Get you high. Whatever wraps your brain and takes away your intellect, gets you high, is haram. A little bit of it is haram, like a lot of it is haram. So the issue, can we legalize it or not? That's not an option. It's not even a question for us. But they'll say what? Democrats, right? Those who believe in democracy, they'll say, but it's up for debate. It's democracy. So it's debatable, right? No. So in essence, what are they telling you? Take our way and replace it, or take our way and use our way as a replacement for your Islam. That's what they're telling us. That's the reality. You understand? So this is why the Shaykh, he mentions that what is that they want us to make these things as a replacement for Islam. That Islam alladhi manna Allah bihi ala al-bashariyah. That Islam in which Allah has made it a blessing for human beings. Islam is a blessing for human beings. You understand? They want us not to use that which is a blessing for human beings and that which will bring benefit to the human beings. They want us to replace it with other doctrines, other isms, other schisms, and so on and so forth. Ala kulli hal, we have to understand the true repugnant nature of all of these things, the true repugnant nature of racism, of bigotry, of nationalism, the true repugnant nature of joining Kafir systems and or ideologies and adorning ourselves and adopting these type of ideologies, whether that be from the ideology of the communists or that of the secularists or that of the capitalists or that of the Masons, and so on and so forth. That we have to stay away from all of these things because we don't need them, because Allah has given us that which is better. Allah has given us Islam. Allah has guided us to Islam. So why in the world we want to leave that off and go back to a road that takes one to the fire? And then the Shaykh Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, he goes on to the next chapter. ولكن نكتفي بهذا القدر, but we will suffice ourselves in that which has mentioned. فصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.